Today we're going to be, we're going to be looking at nuclear chemistry,
Oh, very cool.
which I find fascinating, and you've provided us with some really good material,
Yeah.
that focuses on all the fundamentals, the different types of nuclear reactions,
hmm
um, the nature of radiation, and, that all-important concept of half-life.
Yeah, it's a field that's often, I think, kind of shrouded in mystery and a little bit of fear, but it's really so fundamental to understanding how the world works.
Yeah, and we're going to be uncovering how these principles can help us do things like date ancient artifacts,
Right.
um, develop targeted medical treatments, and even unlock the secrets of the sun's energy.
Exactly.
So let's start, I guess, by talking about, what makes nuclear chemistry different from the chemistry
Right.
that we learned in high school.
Well, the key difference really comes down to where the action is happening.
Okay.
So regular chemistry is all about the electrons, those tiny particles that are whizzing around the atom's nucleus. And it's all about the interactions between those electrons that lead to chemical bonds forming and breaking.
hmm
But nuclear chemistry, as the name suggests, really takes us straight to the nucleus, you know, the heart of the atom.
Okay, so we're going deeper than the electrons,
Ex-
the realm of protons and neutrons.
That's right.
But what makes these nuclear reactions so much more powerful
Right.
than these chemical reactions that we're used to?
So think about it this way. Chemical reactions involve relatively small energy changes, like the energy that's released when you burn a piece of wood.
Right.
It's definitely noticeable, but it's localized.
Yeah.
But nuclear reactions, on the other hand, involve energy scales that are orders of magnitude larger.
Oh,
It's like the difference between a spark and a supernova.
that's quite the comparison.
Yeah.
So what drives these incredible energy releases and nuclear reactions?
Well, it comes down to the forces that are involved.
Yep.
So the strong nuclear force, which is the force that holds the nucleus together,
Right.
is incredibly powerful, but it also operates over incredibly short distances.
Mm.
So when this force is overcome, either by splitting a heavy nucleus or by fusing light nuclei together, vast amounts of energy are released.
So that leads us to the two main types of nuclear reactions,
Yes,
fission and fusion.
exactly. Fission is like splitting a heavy atom, like uranium, into smaller fragments.
Right.
And this process releases a tremendous amount of energy, which is how nuclear power plants generate electricity.
Okay.
Um,
And fusion is the opposite,
yes.
where we're combining lighter nuclei, like hydrogen, to form heavier ones,
Very.
and releasing even more energy in the process.
Exactly.
And it's the same reaction that powers the sun,
Yes.
which makes it a pretty intriguing source of energy, don't you think?
Absolutely. Fusion holds the potential for a clean and virtually limitless energy source.
Yeah,
But harnessing it here on Earth is one of the biggest challenges scientists are facing.
I can imagine.
Because you have to recreate conditions similar to the sun's core, immense temperatures and pressures. It's no small feat.
So, before we get, I guess, too deep into the complexities of fusion,
Right.
let's switch gears a bit and talk about radiation, which is another key concept in nuclear chemistry.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to admit, the word radiation always makes me think of, like, danger signs and hazmat suits.
Yeah.
Is it all bad?
Well, it's understandable to have that association, but it's important to remember that radiation is simply energy traveling through space.
No way.
It's all around us. It's a natural phenomenon,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not always harmful.
Okay, so it's not necessarily something to be feared,
No,
but something to be understood.
exactly. Radiation is simply a byproduct of certain atoms trying to become more stable.
Okay.
These unstable atoms, also known as radioactive isotopes,
Right.
release energy in the form of radiation as they decay into more stable forms.
So it's like these atoms are trying to find their zen,
Yeah,
and radiation is their way of releasing excess energy.
I like that analogy.
But I remember from our source material that there are different types of radiation.
Yeah.
Alpha, beta, and gamma.
Yes,
Why does that matter?
because the different types of radiation interact with matter in different ways.
Okay.
And that's what determines their potential risks and benefits.
Okay.
So think of it as a spectrum of energy and penetration power.
Okay, let's break down these different flavors of radiation.
Okay, so imagine alpha particles as tiny bowling balls consisting of 2 protons and 2 neutrons.
Okay.
They pack a punch, but they're relatively heavy and slow-moving.
Mm-hmm.
So they can be stopped by something as thin as a sheet of paper or even your skin.
So they're the strong but short-range type.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, beta particles are more like tiny darts.
Okay.
They're much lighter and faster than alpha particles, so they can penetrate further,
Mm-hmm.
but they still don't have the energy to go through something very dense.
Okay. a bit more sneaky than the alpha particles.
Yeah.
So what about gamma rays? They always seem to be the ones causing the most concern
Right.
in movies and TV shows.
Yeah, gamma rays are pure energy,
Okay.
like supercharged photons of light.
They have no mass, so they travel at the speed of light and can penetrate deeply into matter.
Wow.
It takes something very dense like lead or concrete to stop them.
So shielding is very important when we're talking about gamma radiation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's why understanding these differences is so important, especially
Yeah.
when we're talking about, potential health risks.
Right.
Um,
So we've got these different types of radiation, each with its own unique properties.
Right.
But how do we measure how long it takes for a radioactive substance to become less radioactive?
Right.
Is it like watching a clock tick down?
That's where the concept of half-life comes in.
Right. Our source material mentioned that, but I'm still a bit fuzzy on what it actually means.
Okay.
Is it about like a specific point in time when an atom suddenly becomes stable?
Not exactly. It's more about probability.
Okay.
So imagine you have a bag of 100 pennies.
Okay.
You flip them all, and about half of them land on heads.
Mm-hmm.
You remove the tails,
Hmm.
leaving only the heads.
Now you flip those again and again. Roughly half will land on tails.
Okay.
Each flip represents a half-life, the time it takes for half of the remaining atoms to decay.
I like that analogy.
Yeah.
So the half-life isn't about a specific atom disappearing
Right.
at a certain time, but about the overall probability of a group of atoms
Yeah, exactly.
decaying over time.
Yes.
But how does that help us in the real world?
Well, half-life is essential for understanding the behavior and applications of radioactive isotopes.
Okay.
It helps us determine how long a radioactive substance will remain dangerous, which is crucial for things like nuclear waste management and medical treatments.
So it's not just a theoretical concept.
No.
It has very real implications.
Absolutely. And we'll dive into some fascinating applications of half-life after a quick break.
So we've talked about half-life in theory, but I'm really curious to hear about how it's used in practice. Our source material mentioned carbon dating,
Yeah.
which I've always found fascinating.
It is remarkable.
It's amazing how we can determine the age of ancient artifacts just by analyzing the radioactive decay of carbon atoms.
Right. So carbon dating relies on the isotope carbon-14, which has a half-life of about 5,730 years.
Okay.
Living organisms constantly absorb carbon-14 from the atmosphere.
Right.
But once they die, that intake stops, and the carbon-14 begins to decay at a predictable rate.
So by measuring the amount of carbon-14 left in a sample,
Exactly.
we can work backwards to figure out how long ago it was part of a living organism.
That's right.
It's like a radioactive clock frozen in time.
Precisely. And carbon dating has revolutionized our understanding of archaeology and history, allowing us to accurately date everything from ancient scrolls to fossilized bones.
It's amazing to think that we can reach back through millennia using this principle.
Yeah.
But carbon dating isn't the only application of half-life, is it?
Not at all. Half-life plays a critical role in a wide range of fields, including medicine.
Oh, right. I remember our source material mentioned some medical isotopes.
Yes.
How does half-life come into play in medical treatments?
Well, imagine you want to target a specific area in the body, like a tumor with radiation therapy.
Okay.
You wouldn't want to use an isotope with a very long half-life
Right.
because it would continue emitting radiation long after it's done its job,
Right.
potentially harming healthy tissues.
That makes sense. So you'd want to use an isotope that decays quickly,
Exactly.
delivers its therapeutic dose, and then becomes harmless relatively soon after.
Precisely. And that's where isotopes with short half-lives come in handy.
Okay.
Our source material highlighted two examples, iodine-131 and technetium-99 meters, which are commonly used in medical imaging and treatment.
I remember those names.
Yeah.
But can you remind me why their specific half-lives make them so useful?
Sure. So let's start with iodine-131. It has a half-life of about 8 days,
Right.
which is ideal for treating thyroid disorders. It's absorbed by the thyroid gland and emits beta radiation, which can destroy overactive thyroid cells without affecting surrounding tissues too much.
So it's like a targeted missile zeroing in on the thyroid.
A very apt analogy.
Okay.
Now, technetium-99 meter has an even shorter half-life, only about 6 hours.
Okay.
This makes it perfect for imaging a wide range of organs.
Right.
Because it emits gamma rays that can be detected outside the body.
So it's like a radioactive tracer, allowing doctors to see what's happening inside the body without invasive procedures.
Exactly. And because it decays so quickly, it minimizes the patient's exposure to radiation, making it a very safe imaging technique.
It's amazing how something that can be potentially harmful can also be harnessed for such incredible good.
Yeah, it really speaks to the power of understanding, the properties of these different isotopes
Right.
and using them in a controlled and targeted way.
But medical applications are just one piece of the puzzle.
Right.
Half-life also plays a vital role in managing, I think, one of the biggest challenges associated with nuclear technology, nuclear waste.
Yes, nuclear waste is a very complex issue.
It's one of those things that always seems to be in the headlines.
Right.
But I have to admit, I don't fully understand the complexities involved.
Well, nuclear waste contains a mixture of radioactive isotopes.
Okay.
Some with very long half-lives, meaning they remain dangerous for thousands, even millions of years.
So it's not something you can just bury and forget about.
No,
We need to find ways to store it safely for incredibly long periods of time.
exactly. And that's where understanding half-life becomes crucial.
Mm.
By knowing the half-lives of the different isotopes in the waste, scientists can develop strategies for safe storage and disposal.
So it's not just about containing the waste, it's about understanding how long we need to contain it for,
Right.
based on the decay rates of the isotopes involved.
Precisely.
It seems like half-life is truly the key to unlocking so many mysteries of the past, present, and future.
It really is a fundamental concept in nuclear chemistry.
Yeah.
But it's important to remember that this field isn't just about the science.
Right.
It also raises ethical questions and challenges that we need to address.
That's a good point. We've talked about the incredible potential of nuclear technology,
Mm-hmm.
but we can't ignore the potential risks.
Right.
What are some of the ethical considerations we need to keep in mind?
Well, one of the most pressing concerns is the potential for nuclear weapons proliferation.
Right.
The same knowledge that allows us to generate clean energy can also be used to create incredibly destructive weapons.
It's a sobering thought, and it highlights the importance of international cooperation
Yes.
and responsible stewardship of this powerful technology.
Absolutely. We need to ensure that nuclear technology is used for peaceful purposes and that the risks are carefully managed and mitigated.
And what about the risks associated with nuclear power plants?
Yeah.
Accidents like Chernobyl and Fukushima are stark reminders of the potential for disaster.
Absolutely. Those events were tragic, and they really underscore the importance of rigorous safety protocols,
Right.
ongoing research and development, and transparency in the nuclear industry.
Mhm.
We need to continuously strive to improve safety measures and learn from past mistakes to prevent such accidents from happening again. It's a delicate balance, isn't it? Harnessing the power of nuclear technology while also respecting its potential dangers.
It is, and it requires a multifaceted approach that involves scientists, engineers, policymakers, and the public working together to ensure responsible and ethical development and use of this incredibly powerful technology.
It's a conversation that needs to continue, for sure. But for now, I think we've covered a lot of ground in our exploration of nuclear chemistry.
Yeah.
We've gone from the basic structure of the atom to the complexities of nuclear reactions,
Mhm.
the different types of radiation, the concept of half-life,
Right.
and the real-world applications and challenges associated with this field.
Yes, and I hope you're leaving this deep dive with a newfound appreciation for the power and potential of nuclear chemistry,
I know I am.
as well as a deeper understanding of the complexities and responsibilities that come with it.
It's been a fascinating journey,
Yeah,
and I'm already thinking about all the other avenues we could explore related to this topic.
there's certainly no shortage of fascinating areas to delve into.
But for now, I think we've given our listener a solid foundation to build on.
Absolutely. And who knows, maybe this deep dive will spark a lifelong passion for nuclear chemistry in someone out there.
One can only hope. It's a field ripe with discovery and innovation, and there's still so much we don't know.
And that's what makes it so exciting. There's always more to learn, more to explore, and more to uncover. As we've been talking about all these incredible applications of nuclear chemistry, it's made me wonder what initially sparked your own interest in this field. Was there a particular aha moment that drew you in?
Well, what's fascinating is that it all started with a simple question. How do we know how old the Earth is?
Right.
As a student, I was completely captivated by the idea that we could use radioactive decay to measure time on such a grand scale.
Yeah.
Learning about radiometric dating techniques and the concept of deep time really opened my eyes to the power of nuclear chemistry.
It's amazing how a seemingly simple question can lead to such profound insights. And I think that's what makes this field so captivating. It bridges the microscopic world of atoms with the vast scales of time and space.
Exactly. And for anyone listening who's just starting to explore the world of nuclear chemistry, I'd encourage them to embrace that sense of wonder and to never stop asking questions.
That's great advice.
Yeah.
And as we wrap up this deep dive, is there anything else you'd like to leave our listener with? Any final thoughts or perhaps a question to ponder?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, one thing that continues to fascinate me is the sheer potential of nuclear chemistry that's still waiting to be unlocked.
Hmm.
We've talked about energy production, medical applications, and even archaeology,
Wait.
but the possibilities extend far beyond that.
What are some other areas where you see nuclear chemistry playing a role in the future?
Well, for one, there's the burgeoning field of nuclear medicine, where researchers are constantly developing new and more targeted therapies using radioactive isotopes. And then there's the ongoing search for new materials with unique properties, many of which can be created through nuclear processes.
Right.
Who knows what breakthroughs await us in those areas?
It's exciting to think about all the potential applications that are still on the horizon. It seems like every time we learn something new about nuclear chemistry, it opens up even more doors for exploration and discovery.
It certainly does. And that's what I find so inspiring about this field. It's a constant reminder that there's always more to learn, more to understand, and more to create. And who knows, maybe some of those future breakthroughs will be made by someone listening to this very deep dive.
That would be incredible. So to everyone listening, if this deep dive has sparked your curiosity, I encourage you to delve deeper, to explore the many facets of nuclear chemistry, and to never stop asking questions. And as always, thanks for joining us on this journey of discovery.